Well, hello, everyone. I'm Chris from National Parents Organization, and today I'm here with Marc Johnson out in Florida, and he's here to tell us about some exciting things that are going down in Florida. So, Marc, welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So, Marc, I understand you've got some great stuff going on in Florida. What's happening down there? I know that shared parenting has been a pretty big movement in the last couple of years, and we've gotten really close, I think, a few times. But what's happening right now?
Well, we have a bill in Florida that's gotten through the House of Representatives and through the Senate, and it is awaiting transmittal to Governor DeSantis for signature. It is a family law reform bill that addresses a lot of issues in the system that are really broken. But namely, one thing it does is it creates an equal time sharing presumption for both parents at the initiation of the process. And we feel like that's real important that, when a father and a mother walk into court for the first time, they're on equal footing. It just makes sense.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I know a lot of conflict in family court stems from ex parte orders that come in and are very unfair. And so do you think the governor's going to sign this, or is he going to veto it?
Well, in years past, we've had a couple of bills that have gotten to the governor's desk back when Rick Scott was the governor here in Florida, and he did veto two bills prior that got to his desk. We feel confident that Governor DeSantis, he's very pro family. They've had a lot of fatherhood parenting initiatives this session, and we feel like this is just another one that we think he's going to support.
Well, that's fantastic, and I know that this comes right on the heels. So we have Kentucky, Arkansas, and West Virginia now. So Florida would possibly be the fourth state here. How is this law in Florida similar or dissimilar to the other laws that have passed in the other states?
Well, I was pleased to see that progress is being made nationwide. We met a lot of resistance here in Florida, and it was helpful to be able to show that other states are also moving in this direction. So it's real important. Our bill, for the first time in Florida, creates a legal presumption in favor of 50-50 or equal time sharing. And that is the way it begins. And then the court can look at 20 additional factors to make a decision, and to always do what is in the best interest of the child in every case, because that's paramount.
So, to boil this down for the listeners out there that aren't, really legally savvy, there's a lot of jargon out there that can trip you up. So, you said this creates a legal presumption. Is that the same as a rebuttable presumption?
Yeah, it is a rebuttable presumption. But what it does really is when parents walk into the courtroom now in Florida, as soon as Governor DeSantis signs this bill into law, both parents will walk in on equal footing. And that's not typically how it happens currently. And many times, and I know that this is a complaint that we see a lot in Florida and from other states, where children get weaponized in the process. And, nothing is more important to a parent than the child. And so, many times divorce lawyers will use the time sharing issue to litigate and to use those, children, unfortunately, as bargaining chips or pawns sometimes in the litigation. And so what this bill really was aimed to do was to stop that process, to have both parents walk in on equal footing, and then have the court look at 20 different factors beyond that. If there's a history of something negative working against a parent, like an abusive situation, substance abuse, alcoholism, anything like that, the court can look at all of those circumstances at that point and then make a determination based upon what's in the best interest of the child.
So when they come in initially, they're on equal footing. So what would happen to a case that was already established? Does this allow them to go back and reestablish more of an equal footing?
Well, interestingly, the bill is not retroactive. So, obviously anything where there's already a shared parenting situation, courts are usually reluctant to revisit those. If there's a material change in circumstance, however, the court can go back and revisit. One interesting part of our bill is we have a relocation provision. It was through an amendment by one of our sponsors that if a parent lives outside of the area of their children and they move back into the area for the purposes of increasing their time sharing with the child, this bill for the first time in Florida makes that a material change in circumstance to where the court can and will reopen the case, look at the distribution of time sharing, and they can adjust it at that point.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense, and it just blows my mind that a lot of other states don't automatically do that, right? But like so many things in family law, they don't seem to make sense on the surface. Are you finding that there's a lot of resistance to this? I mean, what did it take to get this thing passed?
Yeah, it was a colossal effort. We ran into opposition from the National Organization for Women. We ran into opposition. The primary opponent to the bill was the family law section of the Florida bar. Believe it or not, these are the divorce lawyers. And like I said, there's a lot of posturing when it comes to children in the divorce process, and many times that creates billable hours and it prolongs litigation. The divorce bar was very, very much opposed to the time sharing portion of this bill. In fact, when the bill was amended in the Senate, that is when the family law section, came out 100% in opposition to the bill. Even though we were sitting at the table with them for almost a whole year negotiating a lot of the provisions in the bill, and many of them they agreed with. For example, one of the benefits of Senate Bill 1796 is it eliminates permanent alimony in the state of Florida. And it also creates guidelines and some uniformity in the process, in the family law process, because what we found is when families are fighting and you're in an adversarial system and you're fighting through the divorce process, it creates a poor environment post-divorce for children and the family unit. So it's real important as part of the overall package to make sure that we created some guidelines and some predictability where families kind of know what they're looking at when they go into the process. It reduces the contentiousness, it reduces the litigation, and that's good for families going forward.
Yeah, that all sounds fantastic. I really want to ask, though, a specific question around the ethics of attorneys opposing bills like this, because I've read into the ethics and nationally, what the guidelines say is that, attorneys are supposed to, provide guidelines to the courts, but they're really supposed to be somewhat impartial. But in every state that I talk to, including the state that I'm in, which is in Kansas, you see strong opposition by the attorneys. And I just wonder, what's your take on the ethics of the attorneys that oppose these sorts of things?
Well, this is not the Florida bar. This is the family law section of the Florida bar. And that is the group that's comprised of about 3,700 plus family lawyers, divorce lawyers. And they do stay politically active. They're in Tallahassee at our state capitol every year, weighing in on bills like this. And historically, they have opposed any family law reform and most notably any sort of equal time sharing provisions. They are vehemently opposed to those, and we were pleased to have that as part of our bill and to get through the legislature.
Well, that's an amazing feat that you did there. And what about the people that were for this? What are people saying now?
Well, everyone is very excited. The proponents of the bill are very excited. I've been contacted by many national organizations such as your own, who are spearheading these efforts in many states. And I think seeing the progress is exciting for everyone. I know that in Florida, we're happy that children are no longer going to be weaponized in the divorce process. This is going to create equality, and it's going to help both parents and children. The research is, as you know, and as your group knows, because you've been on the front end of this, but the research is overwhelmingly supportive that children do better with as much involvement from both parents. And so that's really the benefit of what this bill does.
Absolutely. And, if you had any advice to folks that are trying to get laws changed in other states, what would you give them? What's your top couple of tips that you could give to advocates in other states?
Well, I'm the chair of a group called Florida Family Fairness, and we have about 4,000 members. People that have been exposed to really what previously has been a pretty abusive system. Like I said, it's an adversarial system, and it's been somewhat abusive to families, not to mention the exorbitant expense, that families have to endure to try to go through this process. I think a grassroots effort is instrumental. You've got to have support. You've got to have people that can tell their stories and write their letters, and because those are compelling. And when legislators hear about that, their own constituents who come to them with their own story. It's very powerful, and I think it's important to also show that, that this is important for men and women. It's not a gender issue anymore, because, there are a lot of women that are primary breadwinners and working and supporting the family as well. And so, parenting from both sexes is very important. And so you kind of remove that stigma that it's a male issue or exclusively, a man's concern. It's really not. It's not a gender issue anymore, and I think that helps. But having people get engaged, having people get involved, and what I found when we started in this is that people are reluctant to tell their story. I don't know if they're ashamed, if they don't want to tell their personal business or whatever it is, but as you go through the process, and it's sort of empowering to tell that story. And so I think, having a grassroots effort is really important. And when the legislature gets involved and they're crafting a bill and they're presenting a bill, it helps for them to hear the stories from their own constituents, because they can personalize it. And really, what we found in Florida is that anyone that has gone through the process, they have a story. And so that was real powerful to garner support in the legislature.
Well, Mark, we're really proud of you down there in Florida. Is there anything else you want to tell the folks at home?
No, we're in a critical spot right now because the bill has passed the legislature, but we have not. It has not been transmitted to the governor. When the bill gets transmitted to the governor, he'll have 15 days to sign or veto or do nothing. And if he does nothing, the bill becomes law. So, Governor DeSantis has demonstrated that he's not afraid to take, powerful positions and do what he thinks is right. And there's so much right about this bill that we hope he will support it. Right now, I would ask for as much support as we can get. We need people to call our governor, to write him, to show support for the bill, and particularly for the shared parenting portion, the 50-50 time sharing presumption, because, like I said, that has been hotly contested here in Florida, and that seems to be the lightning rod that everybody gravitates toward. I mean, there's strong opinions on both sides of it. So, to the extent that your viewers or listeners can reach out to the governor and support it. We also have an online petition. And if you go to www.floridafamilyfairness.org, the information for the governor is there. Our petition is there. And, I would ask, to get involved and give us some support here.
And do people need to be in Florida to help this, or can someone outside of Florida do that same thing, contact the governor?
Yeah, no, we have people from all over the country that have expressed support. And a lot of times, people move from the state of Florida, either that they went through the divorce process here and they live in other states. So I think anyone can express support and sign the petition and contact the governor.
Fantastic. And so they can find you online?
It's floridafamilyfairness.org, www.floridafamilyfairness.org. We also have a Facebook page that you can go to and see what we're doing. And we have some stories on there, people that came to Tallahassee during the legislative session and told their stories. We've documented those and we put those on the webpage. And, I think you can learn a lot by going there and reading about it.
Well, that's fantastic. We really wish you the best down there, and we'll get everybody to contact the governor and show our support, for this law, because it is so important. And we really hope that Florida is going to be the fourth state in the nation to pass a shared parenting law. Thank you.
Yeah, it's an exciting year. There's been a lot of success so far, and we hope to be the next one.
It's interesting. For so long in this movement, there wasn't really any movement, and people, I think, were starting to get discouraged. And then this year, last year and now into this year, we're seeing a lot of movement. So I think we're going to see more and more of this, and we certainly encourage you down there. And hopefully, this thing will get signed into law, and families will start doing better down in Florida.
Yeah, we sure hope so.
Well, Mark, thanks so much for coming on. And again, we really wish you the best. And if you're out there listening to this right now, please go to the website, look in the social media posts below. We'll have information on how you can get involved and show your support. And we ask that you take the few minutes that it takes to just let the governor know that you really support shared parenting in this law, and it will make a difference.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you to NPO. We appreciate the support. We really do.
Well, thank you, Mark, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.